Crystia.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Today, I want to talk about Greg Fergus, of course, the House Speaker. Everybody's been talking about it lately. Everybody's been talking about the controversy that is going on around the House of Commons. But first, I want to give everybody an update just to let you know that now not only do you have the ability to watch this content here on YouTube, but I have now expanded to the green meanie, so to speak, when it comes to social media platforms. I think new tech is something we should be embracing. A lot of people have been asking for it here on the channel. So just a reminder, if you want to check us out, all of our live streams content from here on out will be mirrored, I guess, over on another platform as well as this one that rhymes with stumble. So if you're into stumbling, you can head over and find Unacceptable Fringe over there. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you're sticking around here, to hit the thumbs up, the subscribe button, and send a comment down below, as suppression is more than ever these days relevant on YouTube. It's harder and harder to get these videos out, and every bit of engagement helps this channel moving forward. Now, let's move on to the meat and potatoes. Greg Fergus, shall we? Michelle Rempel Garnier, I am not the biggest fan of. I'm going to be very straightforward with that. I think she's very woke. I think that she used to have good ideas. In fact, I used to be somebody who actually advocated for her to run for either deputy to the party or for prime minister at one point years ago, before she stumbled, did a 180, and went super woke. I'm not sure what's going on with Michelle Rempel these days. However, I will say that this video is basically outlining what has gone on in the House of Commons, where we're at today. I know a lot of people have been following this already. They already know what's going on with Greg Fergus. But for those who are under a rock or those a little late to the party, let's show a little bit of recap. And then I want to talk about why I don't believe Greg Fergus is going to resign, why it's not going to happen, but essentially where we're at moving forward. Let's take a listen.
Next. So the Speaker of the House of Commons has been essentially found guilty of doing more partisan activity after a bunch of other errors. And I want to explain to you why this matters and what happens next. So the Speaker of the House of Commons, for those of you who aren't familiar, is supposed to be like a neutral arbiter of the rules. They're not supposed to be partisan. They're supposed to make sure that the House of Commons functions, the rules are followed in a neutral, nonpartisan way. And in order for Canadian democracy to happen, that's a super critical role, right? Well, you'll remember back a few months ago, the last Speaker of the House of Commons had to resign over an issue of a Nazi being recognized in the House of Commons. So he was replaced with somebody named Greg Fergus. Greg Fergus was actually the parliamentary secretary to Justin Trudeau. So a very partisan person who is now in the role. So he was elected into this role with like super crazy partisanship. Now, he's done several things, including kicking the leader of the opposition Conservatives, Pierre, out of the House of Commons. And it gets worse today. So let me break it down for you on how we got to this point. So a few months ago, you'll remember that Greg Fergus recorded a video for a Liberal convention in his speaker's robes. That's super, when I say that, you understand how partisan that is, right? And he was actually found guilty of doing that. And then he said, oh, it was just a mistake. I mean, I didn't know, which I didn't buy. We thought he should resign over that. But nonetheless, the NDP, the Liberal coalition partners, they kept him in the role. They kept him in the role. I don't understand why the NDP would do that. Like, come on. No, they propped up the government there. Okay. So then you'll remember that afterwards, he went to Washington in his speaker's capacity and gave a speech reminiscing about how fun it was and wonderful it was to be a young Liberal. So he was talking about partisan activity at an international event in his role as a speaker after he did this thing, okay? Then he asked a former Liberal MP to write an op-ed about him. Okay, so like this guy clearly has a history of partisanship, and you'll remember that then he kicked Pierre Poilievre out of the House of Commons.
Now, before we move on to what actually has transpired now to request for him to step down, it's important to notice that this man was also found guilty of ethics violations prior to becoming Speaker of the House of Commons. And the only reason that this man is a Speaker in the House of Commons is because Anthony Rota, or Roto-Rooter as I called him, was partially responsible for inviting again this Nazi into the House of Commons. I will point out, however, that I feel that all 338 of those who stood up, who applauded this person without any knowledge of basic history. Ladies and gentlemen, these guys claim to know everything about economics. They claim to know everything in our government about what's best for us, what we should do with our lives, our taxes, our bodies, our food, our gas, our way of life, yet they don't know basic World War II history. The minute they said in Rota's speech that this man fought against the Russians during the Second World War, you're telling me out of all members present in the Parliament House or the House of Commons that we didn't see one person have the light bulb go on and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to applaud that. This man fought for the Waffen SS. That's a huge, huge misstep and a huge problem in our House of Commons. Again, say what you want about who's running and what party. I'm not going to defend politicians when I sit there and say they're all bloody guilty for what they did. Now, again, they try to transfer all this on. The Liberals threw Rota under the bus, essentially because they had no choice. They had to, or else it was going to destroy what little bits were left of the Liberal Party. But let's move on to what's happened now and where we're at.
Couple of weeks ago, which is kind of unprecedented. The speaker kicking the leader of an opposition party during question period out of the House of Commons. Now, today, and this is what I need you to share, after all of this, look at what happened. On the Liberal Party website, there is an advertisement for Greg Fergus. This is on the Liberal Party website. And let me read to you what the event details are, okay? Let me read this to you. When Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives proposed reckless policies that would risk our health, safety, and pocketbooks, the Liberal team is focused on making life blah, blah, blah. So this is a partisan advertisement. It talks about an event being held by the Speaker of the House of Commons as being part of the Liberal team, and it actually openly craps on the leader of the opposition party. How could anybody say that this guy is neutral and nonpartisan?
Now, that is a very valid point, but the reason I don't think that Greg Fergus is going to resign anytime soon or step down, no matter who puts in motions, no matter who calls it forward, this is all schoolyard antics. Because if we look at the government-paid shilled prostitutes of the CBC, and we're going to get into some more shilled prostitutes as we move towards the end of this video, so hang in there. But, of course, they release an article showing that the Liberal Party now apologizes to the Speaker after controversy erupts over the partisan event posting. So once again, the Liberals, this isn't an Anthony Rota case where they're going to have to throw Fergus under the bus in order to secure their numbers or in order to secure their safety moving forward into a federal election. This is essentially passing the buck so that Greg Fergus can continue on with his God complex, because we've all seen him in the House of Commons muting mics, kicking out leaders, doing basically whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. He's just another corrupt liberal. Whether he wants to silence people, whether he wants to show clear partisanship in the House of Commons, it's anybody's game right now as we move forward with this daunting information. The Liberal Party of Canada has now apologized to Speaker Greg Fergus after partisan language appeared in an ad for an upcoming event in his riding. The Conservatives and Bloc are again calling for Fergus to resign as a Speaker of the House of Commons over the ad. The Liberal Party apologized to Fergus in a letter Tuesday afternoon, saying the language posted on the event page was the auto-populated, standardized language the party uses for events on its website. So in other words, they're always bad-mouthing Pierre Poilievre. They're always talking negatively about Pierre Poilievre. That's just par for the course for them. The language was posted about Fergus's knowledge it was posted without Fergus's knowledge, and as a result of the miscommunication between the party and the Ridings Association, said the letter from Azam Ishmael, the party's national director. The Liberal Party unequivocally apologizes to you for this harmful mistake, and we take full responsibility, because now nobody has to step down, right? These little middlemen are going to take the brunt of the blame. They're not hired MPs. They're not voted into the House of Commons. They don't have to stand down and step down from their post. Again, passing the buck, saying, we made a little human error, ladies and gentlemen. We're sorry. Sorry. It's in a lengthy letter sent to Fergus on Tuesday, Conservative MP Chris Walkerton said that the online posting for a summer evening with the Honourable Greg Fergus included a line that took aim at leader Pierre Poilievre, as Michelle Rempel, woke MP, pointed out in that last video clip. It says that the AND planned a June event that used very partisan inflammatory language, the Alberta MP said. Walkerton's letter earlier Tuesday added that the event was being promoted by attacking the very same leader who you recently used your authority to kick out of the House of Commons, allegedly for his choice of wording. That's a reference to Fergus's decision to remove Pierre Poilievre from the House of Commons last month after he refused to retract a comment calling this prime minister and his policies wacko. Now, this definitely is an article for the Times for Wacko Wednesday. In fact, maybe we should institute that on the channel here every Wednesday. We'll do a video like this for Wacko Wednesday. But Walkerton said that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, also used tough language to describe Pierre Poilievre, but face no sanctions. Of course not, because, again, he's shown he's very partisan. He doesn't care what kind of language is used. Speaking to reporters in Philly Alpha Tuesday, Trudeau kissed everybody's butt and said that he's doing a great job, saying, I have full confidence in him as the House of Commons Speaker, as a thoughtful, independent-minded leader, blah, blah, blah. Butt kissing ensues. The issue was dealt with and was addressed by the party and the House leader. It was an uncomfortable mistake. Of course, we're going to see this time and time again. The article goes into the Conservatives and how terrible they are for suggesting that he stepped down. And again, we're not going to see it happen. It's not going to happen. This article, if you can take anything, and the reason I use articles like the CBC is this is the government's propaganda printing machine. If they're putting out stories like this is basically the final word saying, look, it's all covered up. It's in a nice little package with a bow. Nothing is going to happen. They've secured his ability to move forward. But what's really daunting and what's scary when we talk about government paid prostitutes moving forward as we head into another election, it now seems that while Justin Trudeau's busy kissing Fergus's butt, here also comes a video out from CTV News' Power Play. And again, I've often said that I like reporters like Vashi who come out who aren't afraid to ask tough questions to MPs and politicians. While she still works for these news outlets, I'll remain partially partisan to that, while saying she should really move along if she or become independent if she really wants to make an impact on the world of politics. However, this data now being released says that the Liberals are gaining votes amongst younger generation voters. I've often talked about this on the channel and how this is damaging not only in your municipal elections, but your provincial and now your federal, as again, they discuss why the Conservatives have lost up to 10% of their vote in a certain demographic and where the Trudeau Liberals are gaining. Now, I'm not going to play this entire clip. It's a very lengthy interview. Of course, they sit down with Jagmeet Singh's brother to discuss why this is happening, which again is a huge conflict of interest, given that Jagmeet Singh is the one keeping Justin Trudeau employed. But I'm going to take a listen into what the first guest of the panel has to say, because it reflects why I think the Liberals are gaining these.
But new polling numbers are showing there could be a shift in one key demographic: youth. Let's have a look at this Abacus data poll. It shows a change over the last 2 weeks, with the Liberals gaining 12 percentage points among the 18 to 29-year-olds. The Conservatives dropped by 10 points, according to the numbers, and that puts the two parties in a nearly dead heat with that cohort of voters. So is this a trend, or is this poll just an outlier? Let's bring in the front bench. Karleen Verheyen is the former chief of staff to the late Liberal cabinet minister Jim Carr. She's an associate vice president with Summa Strategies. Melanie Paradis is the former communications director to Aaron O'Toole. She's now the president of Texture Communications. Former Ontario NDP MPP Guratan Singh, he is now the vice president at Crestview Strategies. He's also the brother of federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh and CTV News senior digital parliamentary reporter Rachel Aiello. Karleen, let's start with you. So what do these numbers tell you about what the Liberals are doing right and maybe what the Conservatives are doing wrong?
Well, when the Liberals set out to announce this policy, This is the exact demographic that they were going after, and they made no secret of that on budget day. This was their big piece, and they were very clearly making that appeal to millennials and to Gen Z voters. So I think that they're probably very happy today because they're seeing signals that that is starting to work. They indicated that they had done a lot of research of their own before crafting the budget and saw that young people in particular were really over-indexing on wanting to see tax increases on the richest people.
Right there tells you everything that you need to know about those votes leaving or those votes shifting over to the Liberals. And this is where I say it is going to be the scariest vote when it comes to Canadian politics moving forward in the next federal election. Gen Z is a big, big, big problem, no matter whether you're voting in your town, your province, or federally. These young voters are the generation that tell mom and dad, give me a down payment for a house, buy my car, pay my massive student debt loans so that I can go set up a tent on university campuses and preach out for Palestine. These are people who have never held real jobs, who have never had to pay taxes, who have never had to actually move out and pay their bills. For the most part, there are Gen Z people who have it together. I'm not saying every one of them, but I'm talking a majority statistically that don't want to participate in hard work, sacrifice, and getting ahead on your own steam, essentially. We're going to see this be a major factor when we move into other elections again in all three sides of where we vote municipally, federally, and provincially. It is going to come down to things like universal basic income, digital currencies, opting out for people to go through woke ideologies in order to be allowed to go out and behave in public or be a part of public presences. We're not going to see any kind of compensation from Gen Z anytime soon, as of course I've said before with this younger generation, it seems like fact and actual statistics don't seem to matter amongst this demographic more so than being the loudest at the pedestal. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is this where the Liberals are going to gain their votes? Is this where we're going to see a significant drop in support for Pierre amongst Gen Z? I think so. Give me your thoughts down below as well on Greg Fergus. Let me know if you're like me and you don't think he's going to resign. And again, join us here live on the channel every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, both here on YouTube and other platforms that rhyme with stumble. Again, I'm not allowed to openly promote those platforms here on the channel if I want to play ball because, well, they don't really like you moving people around. However, I find these days people have been asking for it. It's best to cast our net as far as we can if we're going to get the message out. So whichever platform you find is a preference, make sure to join us this upcoming Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, where we're going to go over everything that goes on in the world of politics as well as everything happening in and around our communities. It's going to be great to hear what you guys have to say outside of making these videos, and I always look forward to sitting down and chatting with you every Friday night. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.